I just noticed something very strange about the dynamic between Eddie and Venom throughout the film. They had, there's multiple times there was just this stilted, awkward moments. And Tom Hardy just having such a non-reaction to what Venom was saying more often than not. And it just kept happening throughout the film multiple times, as if Tom Hardy just didn't really understand what Venom was trying to say, or he just didn't know at all. And apparently, the production for this film was halted at multiple points because of the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strikes, which makes me believe that they filmed Tom Hardy scenes not knowing what Venom was supposed to say during these moments. The dialogue didn't exist, which resulted in these non-reactions from Hardy. And that to me is just hilarious, but also incredibly frustrating. Even the thing that they were trying to focus on the most throughout the film inevitably just ended up not working very well because they had no idea what these characters were supposed to say to each other. It just blows your mind. You can't believe it. All right, let's go ahead. Let's move on to my review for Venom, and heavy emphasis on that colon, The Last Dance. So, we've finally gotten to the supposed final chapter, the last entry, the last dance of Eddie Brock, Venom, and all these gooey symbiotes with Venom, The Last Dance. Again, the supposed last movie in a film series that gleefully embraces the worst aspects of late 90s and early 2000s superhero films, featuring sloppy direction, writing, acting, and production values, adapting a beloved comic book character in the only way Sony seemingly knows how to adapt them. Terribly. Now, as I said in my out-of-theater reaction, if you've seen it, I'm not going to waste your time with a lengthy preamble, okay? When it comes to Venom, The Last Dance, if you liked the previous Venom movies, you'll most likely enjoy Venom, The Last Dance. If you did not like the previous Venom movies, you most likely won't enjoy Venom, The Last Dance. It's just as simple as that. This film just continues to do the same things that the previous Venom movies have done. It just doubles down on those things, or in this case, triples down on them, while sloppily setting up the gooey symbiote nonsense that Sony will most likely try to cram into more of its upcoming Spider-Man-less Spider-Man non-villain anti-hero movies, and God forbid, the future Tom Holland Spider-Man films, which we all know at this point are happening, are coming. Now, I didn't like the previous Venom movies for a variety of reasons. And I'm not the biggest fan of the Venom character to begin with. But that's not to say that I've disliked every interpretation or adaptation of Venom. I actually loved what Insomniac Games did with the character in Spider-Man 2. Getting, someone like Tony Todd to voice him and having Harry Osborn be Venom instead of Eddie Brock, having a better connection to Peter Parker because of that. I think that's the best Venom has ever been in his entire history, in my opinion. But these movies have continued to do, in my personal opinion, a disservice to the Venom character and also to longtime Venom and Spider-Man fans. But maybe, just maybe, this third and last entry would deliver something that could be described as half decent. Well, I would have liked to have seen that movie. But that's not what we have here. Not at all. We get just more of the same nonsense, except with more awkward exposition and an attempt to make the character of Null Sony's Thanos for their cinematic universe. Now, I am getting a bit ahead of myself, though. You know, this film is directed by Kelly Marcel, who is the screenwriter of the previous two Venom movies. This is her theatrical debut, as far as I know, as a director. And she also co-wrote the film with Tom Hardy, who, of course, returns as Eddie Brock and Venom, respectively. He voices the symbiote as well. She's also probably best known for being the screenwriter for the first 50 Shades of Grey movie. So that explains a lot in hindsight. Maybe I knew about that years ago. I had completely forgotten that. But knowing that now, it's like, this is starting to make a lot of sense now. Why these movies, in my personal opinion, are so goddamn terrible. Now, in this film, we come to learn via some awful and awkward exposition that this CGI rat-faced man named Null is the supposed god of the symbiotes. He created them years ago, but he got his ass kicked and is now imprisoned on this goo planet. However, because of some weird retcon, Venom has become this thing called the Codex, and it ties to the original Venom movie when Eddie died, but then Venom saved him. Anyway, he's the key to Null escaping the goo planet so he can restart his conquering of other planets and cover them in his CGI goo, right? He sends out some CGI xenosymbiote hunters that like to vor and then poop out symbiotes to then vor Venom and get the Codex. That's what's happening in this movie. Meanwhile, there's more in this movie. Truedio Ejiofor and Juno Temple play bad military man number one and nice scientist lady number one. And they want to capture Eddie Brock and Venom because they don't want a symbiote invasion of Earth, which I get. You know, that makes sense. Ejiofor thinks symbiotes are bad, and Juno Temple thinks they're just misunderstood. You know, their talents in this movie are completely wasted. They are only there to give more exposition and say silly things that make no sense whatsoever and to collect their paychecks. That's why they're in this movie. Meanwhile, Eddie and Venom are being chased by both parties, Rat-Faced Null and Truedio Ejiofor and Juno Temple. And often in the film can't transform into full Venom, thus saving more money, I guess, for the budget. But they have a reason, because they're the Codex now, and they don't want to get vored and unleash Null and his goo powers. That's pretty much the setup. They then go from misadventure to other misadventures, and poorly written hijinks ensue. Now, this movie sucks, guys. Okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It really does. It just does the same things that the other movies have done. Is it the best one or the worst one? I don't know. I think it just kind of falls squarely in the middle of these Venom movies. They just feel so interchangeable. It just is what it is. You know, there seemingly has been like no attempt to make these better, despite what some people have said, or the filmmakers and the collaborators on these movies have said. They just all kind of feel the same to me. Perhaps Let There Be Carnage is the worst one because, I mean, they waste Carnage, obviously, who's a very popular character. But I don't know. They're all really interchangeable, Chad. It doesn't matter. The filmmakers just feel like they're in this particular movie. They just feel more interested in the plot of Venom and Eddie's relationship the most. And though I don't like their relationship, clearly a lot of people do. So if you're excited about that, well, the movie does focus on that more often than not. You know, in between all the Null symbiote hunters and the evil military, plot lines. Now, however, while watching this movie, I just noticed something very strange about the dynamic between Eddie and Venom throughout the film. They had, like, there's multiple times there was just this stilted, awkward moments, and Tom Hardy just having such a non-reaction to what Venom was saying more often than not. And apparently, there's an explanation for it. Or at least I'm pretty sure I know what's going on, and is actually creating some of these awkward moments between these two, because Venom would say like something crazy and weird, and Tom Hardy would be like, oh, okay, and just kind of continue on his way and keep walking in the middle of the desert or whatever. Like, and it just kept happening throughout the film multiple times, as if Tom Hardy just didn't really understand what Venom was trying to say, or he just didn't know at all. And apparently, the production for this film was halted at multiple points because of the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strikes, which makes me believe that they filmed Tom Hardy scenes not knowing what Venom was supposed to say during these moments. The dialogue didn't exist, which resulted in these non-reactions from Hardy. And that to me is it's just hilarious, but also incredibly frustrating. Even the thing that they were trying to focus on the most throughout the film inevitably just ended up not working very well because they had no idea what these characters were supposed to say to each other. It just blows your mind. You can't believe it. Outside of Eddie and Venom, which I feel like that's the reason why people are going to go see that, because they like the dynamic between those characters. Again, I don't, but clearly a lot of people do. I think it's very frustrating how they handle in this movie. You do have a number of other characters who I have not yet mentioned. Reza Fonz is in the film. No, he is not Dr. Kirk Connors. He is not the Lizard. All right, it's not. They make fun of the multiverse at one point, but that's not who he is. He plays a different character named Martin, and him and his family are like these hippies that kind of like, roam the United States, and they're alien enthusiasts. They eventually like meet Eddie Brock and Venom, and they befriend him, of course. I will say this, he's one of the better things in the movie. He actually has a couple of moments that were pretty funny. It also helps that Reza Fonz is a very talented actor. I mean, if you don't know the man, if you don't recognize his name, you've seen him in, well, obviously he's Dr. Kirk Connors, but he most recently is coming off of House of the Dragon. He plays Sir Otto Hightower in that. Has some of the best moments in season 2, in my opinion, especially in those early episodes, those first 4 episodes. So, he brings it here. He is funny, with his family and with Eddie. It was kind of the one bright spot of the film. They do some goofy shit with them later on that's like, I don't think this was necessary. To create some faux conflict, I suppose, for an action sequence that doesn't look particularly good. But I will say that, to be positive, I did like him in the movie. He was a standout. But no, he's not Dr. Kirk Connors. He's not a Varen. He's a new character. Those that like Mrs. Chen, she's back here in a bonkers sequence with Eddie Brock and Venom. They kind of hint at in the trailer, where, again, Venom is just kind of going from place to place. He has a Las Vegas adventure, and that's where he ends up meeting Mrs. Chen. Venom and Mrs. Chen end up having a musical dance sequence where Venom is literally singing ABBA. He's singing Dancing Queen with Mrs. Chen, and they're flying in the air, and he's throwing her up there, and they're having a grand time. And I'm just like watching this scene, I'm going, this is like the character when he was first introduced in the comics that would stalk and threaten Mary Jane Watson, making Peter think that his wife's life was at risk all the time. This is the same character that would literally stalk and prowl around Aunt May's neighborhood and throw it in Peter's face to make him feel incredibly insecure and anxious, make Peter think that in any moment fucking Venom would burst into the house and kill Aunt May. This is this character. He's singing ABBA. All right. And then we get to Andy Serkis's Null. Spoiler, Andy Serkis plays Null. He's not in the movie very much. He's the main villain of the film. He's not in the movie a lot. He, again, as I said, he's the creator of the symbiotes. He's seeking Eddie because Eddie and Venom are the Codex now because of reasons. That's why. Because of reasons. Because we said so. That's why. Because Sony said so, and you got to go along with what they say. Null sucks. All right? He, to me, represents the worst aspects of 90s characters, right? He's edgy for the sake of being edgy. And they set him up having been in prison on his goo planet, and he's like, well, I gotta get out of my goo planet so I can cover other planets in goo, and I need Venom to do that, right? But the thing is, I feel like, other than him just sitting in his goddamn chair throughout the entire movie, they undercut him as a threat. I've said this a while, for a long time. He reminds me of Malekith from Thor: The Dark World, where we're introduced to that villain. We see, like, that villain get his ass kicked and lose, and then he, like, comes back, but it's just like, well, he's not much of a threat if we just saw him get his ass kicked and lose. So why should I be intimidated by this guy? It doesn't make any sense. Plus, the CGI on him, I think a lot of the CGI in this movie does not look good. But you do see his face, and he just looks like a rat. He just looks like a pale white rat, you know, with his evil-looking eyes and his, like, little teeth. And I was like, you're not intimidating at all. And I'm just really worried that this character is going to be forced on us in the upcoming Spider-Man films. I just don't get him at all. I don't understand the appeal of this character whatsoever. I think just because he has a hardcore look. That's it. That's it. Again, the action is very similar to the action in the previous films. I just never liked how it looked. You know, the symbiotes always kind of slamming into each other. It's all goo. You know, it's black goo, it's gray goo. There's different goo in this movie. Well, and Let There Be Carnage, there was red goo of Carnage. This time they got, like, white goo, they got yellow goo, they got purple goo, they got aquamarine goo. So I will say that they do feature a wide color palette, but the problem is, just most of these action scenes just result in the goo, like, slamming into each other. I did like this one. I think it was this yellow-orange symbiote. He was like a chubby one. He was pretty cute. I like the chubby orange symbiote that was fighting one of the Vor monsters at some point. I was like, there it goes. I'm grasping at straws, guys. I'm trying my best to be like, I like that a little bit, but I've just never liked how they presented Venom's abilities in these movies, and I don't think they're much better here at all. And again, it's like they're saying this is the last dance. This is the end of Venom. Just like, I doubt it. I really do, because you know they can pull whatever they want out of their ass. There'll be a little vestige of Venom left. It'll be stuffed up Eddie's butt, and it'll come out, and they'll team up with Spider-Man to take on Null. So this whole idea of this being the end of Venom and Eddie, bro, I'm like, I don't believe it for a second. Not at all. And inevitably, when it comes down to it, I just think Venom and especially Spider-Man fans, I've said this time and time again, they deserve better than these movies. But the Tom Rothmans of the world, the Amy Pascals, and the bloated, pus-filled orc creatures known as Avi Arad are going to keep producing these types of movies. And inevitably rope the upcoming Tom Holland Spider-Man films into this symbiote and Null nonsense. And as a Spider-Man fan, that makes me sad. You know, these talentless people should not do that. But I think it's a very likely possibility. And I just hope it doesn't come to fruition, but I feel like we should brace ourselves for that, just in case that if it does indeed happen. I don't know how this movie is going to do commercially. Apparently, it's not tracking as well as the previous films. But, you know, again, maybe it might not even matter. Like, Sony they've been trying to make this universe of theirs work, and the only thing that's been commercially successful for these live-action Spider-Man-less Spider-Man films has been Venom. But, again, to have that infect the Holland Spider-Man movies, which I've really enjoyed and really like what they've done with him in the MCU. It just makes me concerned, justifiably so. But yeah, guys, this movie is not good. But if you like the previous Venom movies, if you vibe with them, and more power to you. You know, again, as I've said, like what you like, dislike what you dislike, you'll probably like this movie. You'll probably like the misadventures of Venom and Eddie. Even though what they do, it's not really relevant to the plot. Although who gives a shit about the plot in this movie? They certainly don't. You know, and if you didn't like the previous Venom movies, then you're gonna hate it as much as I did. You're gonna dislike it as much as I did. So yeah, it's just frustrating because even though I'm not the biggest fan of this character, I feel like you can do great things with this character. I know you can do great things with this character. We've seen them do it recently in Marvel's Spider-Man 2 video game. I thought what they did with Venom in that was great. Okay, and my whole thing, as I've always said, like, prove me wrong. You know, I'll always eat a slice of humble pie. I always eat crow. If you can do great things with Venom, you can make great Venom movies, then fucking do it. It's just that these are not good. They have the wrong people in charge. They have the wrong vision for them, and it's lasted through 3 films, and I think it's resulted in just a big gooey shit at the very end. So. Yeah, I don't like the film. But what about you guys? What about you guys? Did you guys like Venom and that last dance that he had with Eddie? You know, were you more mixed? Or did you hate it? Did you downright despise it? And also let me know, what do you want for the future of this Sony Spider-Man universe? Do you want Tom Holland's Spider-Man to be mixed up in this? I don't. But do you guys do? Let me know.
5 minutes later.
What about you? What do you think of Venom and Eddie and their last dance, their little myth adventure? Let me scroll up. And see what you guys are saying. Dancing Queen. You get to hear Venom go, Dancing Queen, and do all that. So they have a worse use of ABBA than Mamma Mia? I would say so. Yeah, I think so. Hamilton Burger, welcome to Stream. Just time there. Yes, you did. I don't know how much you heard of it, but I think I reiterated some key points towards the end. Bugstaff, welcome, by the way. Null just sucks in general. Not gonna. Thank you. He just sucks. I'm like, what? I don't get this character. The idea of introducing someone who has had a history of like losing, like he fought God the God Butcher, Gore. He fought Gore the God Butcher, and fucking Gore kicked his ass and took his sword. He created the symbiotes who betrayed him, and locked him on that planet. I was like, so why is this guy a big deal? I don't get it. You know, it's like you're setting him up to be your Thanos, but Thanos they didn't like undercut him. So it's weird. It's weird. Bad Boy, no, it looks like someone looked at the villain in Hellboy 2 and said, we can make that uglier. Yeah, he's very similar to that. He looks like an elf. He looks like a rat-faced elf. And take a shot every time Chris says goo. You'd be dead. You'd all be dead. Don't put that on them, clown freaks, please. Bugs, at this point, the only Venom I'd want to see is this version named DMC. Yeah, I mean, if Marvel proper wanted to do like a proper version of Venom from the MCU, I'd be like, well, you know, not my first choice, but it's like, I'm hoping they can do something good with it, but not this Venom. Hell no. And I don't want this connected to Null. It was never going to be everyone's Venom showed up in No Way Home. Oh yeah, then he was there, then they took him out. Every time I don't know where the symbiote Spider-Man 4. I'm expecting that too. I already got off the train like 8 steps ago, and I don't have to brace for anything. Good. Malcolm, I couldn't even make it past the first Venom. I'm a huge Spider-Man Venom fan. I don't want to disrespect Venom fans, but Venom without Spider-Man just feels kind of yeah, it's just. And at this point, like, why would you even want them to, like, why would you even want them to cross over? Like, why would Venom and Eddie want to fight Spider-Man? Like, Tom Hardy's talking about, this is, you know, an aside, but he's like, I want to fight Spider-Man. It's like, why? What would be the point? I don't get it. Like, you're a hero. Like, why would you want to fight another hero in the movie? I don't get it. I don't get it. Kimmy, I don't know much about Null, but I've heard people say he's a Thanos level threat. Apparently he's more powerful than Thanos. I mean, you know, the writers of Null. I'm sure the creators of Null have been saying that, but I'm just like, I don't think so. But like, we don't see like Thanos like get imprisoned on a goo planet. Bishop Sigmore, if I watch this, it'll be much later, yeah. Honey Bee, good to see you. Welcome. Look, boss, is this on par with the first film or is it better? I don't know. I think it's in the middle. I guess. I don't know. I've heard hearing that it's better than the second one, which I thought was the worst one. Yeah, I guess the second one's the worst one. Although I appreciate that the fact that the second one was shorter than the first one because the first one just felt very long. I think this is more in the middle, honestly. Like the thing that I think that I think makes it worse than the first one is that there are so many stilted exchanges between Eddie and Venom. Because I think of the fact that they didn't know what Venom was supposed to say in these scenes because of the writer's strike. You know, Tom Hardy's having so many of these, like, non-reactions to what Venom is saying, or all this, like, he's doing that, but it's not like Venom said something, like, really crazy, and, you know, Hardy's like, like, this is weird. And I didn't know until I got back from the theater, and I read up on the movie that apparently this was one of the films that was affected by that. So they probably didn't even have dialogue written. They have no idea what Venom was supposed to say in this scene. So, oh, man. Biggest bad that I want to like these Venom movies, but the cringe is just too high. Comic storyline of Venom team up with the Guardians of the Galaxy to go. His whole plan was awesome. It's a shame they rushed him out with this film. Yeah, that's right. Isn't that where if the Flash, not the Flash, Jesus Christ, Flash Thompson. That's what I'm trying to. My mind's all over the place. What comes out next week? I don't know. I want to see Heretic. That's the next big film on my list. I want to check out. I'm really excited for that one. Kimmy and all these 3 Venom movies have had 3 different directors. Did you feel a style change? Did you feel these directors add their stamp? No, not at all. No. It all feels the same. You know, like Kelly Marcel. And the reason why it's an easy answer is because she wrote the previous 2 movies. It's her. She's the screenwriter. And she directed this film and co-wrote it with Tom Hardy. So, no, in terms of the writing, it all feels the same. It's, at this point, I guess they're leaning more into the humor of it all with Venom and Eddie, like the relationship. But then, again, I go back to the fact that the dialogue and their exchange feels a little more stilted this time because I think they didn't know what Venom was supposed to say in some of these things because they didn't write it yet because of the writer's strike. I could be wrong, but I'm just like, there has to be an explanation for this. And I want to actually know if anyone else has been saying this or if maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm the only one that's picked up on it. Or maybe I'm reading too much into it. It just felt weird. Oh, man. I have a headache. Deadpool, I just want Sony's Spider-Man-less cinematic universe to end. Yeah, I think we all do. I think a lot of people do. I'd rather have the Venom from the games. That Venom would be fucking awesome. They want to do that for the movies? Cool. If Tom Holland, let's go. I just read that. Venom. This Venom has zero connection with Peter Parker. It would be awkward. Yeah, it'd be awkward, the rivalry. It's like, even when they, like, at the end of Let There Be Carnage, they had that stinger where, when they also tried to, again, it's all this retcon bullshit. Like, apparently, Null is like, he can traverse across the multiverse. This is from the comics, I think. He could traverse about the multiverse, and all the symbiotes are connected. So, like, the Venom symbiote from Spider-Man 3 knows, like, this symbiote. Like, they all know. They all have a shared memory or something, right? And so I think that would be the only ridiculous thing that they can. I mean, they might. And the thing is, I say ridiculous and stupid, but Sony be like, that's all we need, baby. It's a single sentence answer. That could be the explanation. It is like, you killed one of me in another universe, even though it technically wasn't you, but I hate you, right? That's the explanation. That's the only thing. And I think that would be really dumb because it'll be like, what? And they'd have to explain it over again because people would forget about that that stinger with because yeah, it's at the end of Let There Be Carnage, isn't it? Where Venom and Eddie are on vacation and then they're transported into the MCU. And they're watching the news report of when Mysterio leaked Spider-Man's identity as Peter Parker, and Venom's like, interesting. He licks the screen, and I was like, oh. And so that's the explanation, I guess. So that's how they would do it, I suppose. But again, lame. But you're right. It would be awkward. It just wouldn't make any sense. But they might do it. They might fucking do it. That'd be their excuse. It's like, see, it makes sense. Dylan Murray, as I said months ago, Beyond the Spider-Verse is in trouble. Avi, Amy, and Tom are going to put their stank-ass hands on after Venom underperforms and Craven flops. Yeah, I'm very curious to see how this movie's going to do. Apparently, it's not tracking as well as the first two, but we'll see. We'll see. First Venom movie, and Craven, yeah, I don't have any faith in Craven. I love Craven. Yeah, I really love them. As a villain, he's a psychopath that hunts people. Please. The first Venom movie was meh for me. The second just pissed me off. Yeah. Yeah. Serious Spock, I enjoyed Venom 1 way back when. Didn't like Venom 2. I thought this one was garbage. There you go. Yep. Next week is Zemeckis' new movie, that Blitz. Oh, that one. Is that the one where the CGI Tom Hanks and the CGI Robin Wright? That looked pretty rough. That Blitz movie with, I can't say that actress's name. Saoirse Ronan? Saoirse? I can't say it. It's got like some goddamn Irish Gaelic name. And Eastwood's new movie. Oh, Juror number 2. I might see Juror number 2. Oh, it's only opening in 50 theaters just for the weekend. Oh, damn. W's not even going to report on the box office numbers. Wow. So they don't got a lot of confidence in it. I mean, Clint Eastwood's, when was the last time he made a good movie? I guess Richard Jewell. Because the last film he did, Cry Macho, that film was fucking rough. That was a rough movie. Because it's just shit, Chris. Yeah. Yeah. I always refer to these Sony movies as scum. Yeah, the Sony Cinematic Universe of Marvel, scum. That's good. I like that. I like that, bitch. I gotta take that. I gotta use that for the review. Scum. Very nice. Very nice. The boss was a bit creepy when he licked the TV screen because the Spider-Man was canonically minor. Yeah. Yeah, that was creepy. Yeah, they'll go off the hive mind route. That'll be the explanation. That's what they're gonna do. I think that's exactly what they'll do, and they'll just reiterate it through an exposition dump again. We know him. We have fought him in many universes, Eddie. He is our enemy. Spider-Man is our enemy. And I'd be like, if he's the enemy, he's a bad guy. All right, well, that's what we'll do. If they bring Venom in the MCU, they should treat it like the Spider-Man 2 game, Venom 100%. And cast Tony Todd to voice him 100%. I agree. I would love that. I think I'll be like, okay. If they were to do that, we're like, if it was announced, again, I would prefer my street-level Spider-Man film. But if they said, listen, we're going to do a Venom movie with Spider-Man. Okay, they're gonna fight each other. I'd be like, okay. Even though I feel like you got to build up to that because he has to get the suit first, and I don't know. But okay. But yeah, getting Tony Todd, I think the voice, and be like, all right, it's cool because I think Tony Todd did a great job. And leaning more into that take on Venom, I hope they can somehow. I don't know what character they would do that with. Hell, they could do it with Ned. I really don't know. It would just there's some hoops they got to jump through to get to that point, but that would be better. That would be better than this. Well, this movie underperforms, and they'll keep this Venom out of the MCU. Yeah, I hope so, too. Saoirse like inertia. Saoirse. Considering it's Zaslav making the decision to bear it, maybe it's actually good. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, Juror number 2. Right. Spawn movie will be a goofy voice next, definitely. Yeah, if Spawn is just Venom with a red cape. Venom would have been better if Gilbert Gottfried. Oh my God, was still alive. Dude. That would be great. Eddie! It's nobody's coming from. I can't do it. Jafar! I'd love that. But yeah, guys, Venom. I don't like it. I think it's bad. I think I think Venom fans and Spider-Man fans deserve a lot better. And it's sad. It's sad that it's resulted in this, but. What are you going to do? They're going to keep doing this until they can't. I don't need any more frackin' Venom. Well said. Well, there you go, chat. I think that's all I have to say about Venom: The Last Dance for now, though. I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point again. I'm curious to see how this movie's going to perform. I don't know if I want to do a spoiler review. People are just into seeing it. There's not really much to spoil. The trailer, the title kind of gives away that it's this is kind of the end, right? But is it the end? Is anyone really gone? It's one of those situations. So, I'll say this. This is a brief spoiler, but I feel like this is not even a really spoiler. I won't say what exactly happens to Eddie and Venom at the end, but they set up Null. Clearly, they're setting up Null to be he's set up to be the big bad of the future of I guess these Sony movies. But okay, even if here's the confusing thing. like, and I think like they're setting him up to be the next big villain for Peter to go up against across like a trilogy of films. Because I'm like, who's gonna fight him? Who's gonna? But even if they don't do that with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, you're gonna fucking have Craven go up against him? If that's a success, Morbius, Madam Web, like what are we doing? I don't get it. Unless they're thinking like we're gonna set up the Sinister Six movie with like Madam Web and Morbius and Craven the Hunter and I guess Michael Keaton's Vulture and whoever else they have, I don't know, and they're gonna fight. No, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, no. It's not like he dies, you know. He barely does anything. He sits in his goddamn chair the whole time, but he survives and he'll be back. He'll be back. Yeah, there you go. There you go, Jim.